War of the Worlds is officially back in development. After a few months away, Raf, the lead developer, has returned with an update that we were all hoping for. Not only is the game moving forwards, but we've got fresh hope for future updates and a little explanation as to why things went quiet. So let's get straight into things. Raf, the developer behind FlipSwitch Games' War of the Worlds, recently announced in the official Discord that he's completed his training at the New York Fire Academy. So for those of you that didn't know why the game's development slowed down, Raf had to make a very important decision and join the New York Fire Department. I'm not too sure now when it was that he actually started, but I do remember him making a post about it, basically stating that he was approaching the age limit for joining the Fire Academy and it was now or never, basically. Which I can respect that. It's been his dream since a kid to be a firefighter, and while I know we have all been waiting a long time now for this game, I'm glad he made the jump and was, successful in achieving his dream. Now that he's done that though, he's back and development has resumed, and honestly it puts a lot into perspective for those that weren't aware of what was happening. The gaps in communication, the lack of updates, they all make a lot more sense now. Unless, like me, you followed the progress of the game quite closely and knew what was going on anyway. And, credit where it's due, Raf could have just quietly moved on from the project if he wanted to, but he's choosing to come back and finish the game. Now, let's talk a bit about where things stand right now. While we don't have a new development update or any gameplay trailers, we do know where things were right before he started his training. So, just before he left, he was actively working on the multiplayer components of the game. If you haven't seen any of that, I'll leave a card in the top corner so you can go and check out my video on how the multiplayer was doing, along with some clips released on the Discord from the early multiplayer builds. From what we saw those months ago, it looked a little bit rough and a tad glitchy, but overall the multiplayer looked pretty solid. Sadly, I missed out on the multiplayer testing, but it looked like a great time, and I can't wait to be running away from tripods and aliens with my friends. Now, we don't know exactly when this update is coming, but what I do know is it wasn't too far away as Raf was starting work on the update video for the multiplayer itself, and from what I know about Raf's style in the past, he wouldn't be prepared to show the gameplay if it wasn't at least ready enough for the public to see. Considering his update videos get tons of views and attention online, I think it's safe to say we weren't that far off from getting the multiplayer. Another bit of information I wanted to also talk about was how Raf was planning on going into a sort of early access style release with the multiplayer coming out, and by that I mean it wasn't coming out on Steam or anything, but he was going to reduce the tester price from $75 down to $50. Now, I believe that would make it a lot more accessible to people. Yes, it's still expensive, but that would mean that a lot more people would have access to the game, and with multiplayer being a thing, it's going to be impossible to stop people making videos on it, so it would have been kind of an unofficial early access release, meaning that I wouldn't be under an NDA anymore and could make videos on me actually playing the game, which is something that I'm really looking forward to. Another sign that things point towards this being the case is that Raf was going through an optimization phase in development not too long ago. For those that don't know, I kind of worked out that Raf would go through phases of adding new content, and then as you would expect, the game's performance would then take a bit of a nosedive, and then he'd go through a couple months of optimizing all the new features, and then once that's done, go back to adding new stuff. Now, I believe Raf was doing both optimization and adding the multiplayer feature at the same time, which makes sense as, he wants as many people to be able to run the game as possible, and if he's preparing for an unofficial early access, then it makes sense to have the game running smoothly for a proper good launch. Let's address the elephant in the room now, shall we? That elephant would be trust. Some people still feel a bit burned by earlier projects that didn't quite go as planned, and there's still some skepticism around whether this War of the Worlds game will actually launch, and if it does, whether it'll even deliver. And look, I get it. It's easy to feel cautious, especially with indie survival projects that go dark for a while, but the main difference here, I want to say, is transparency. Raf could have said nothing, but he updated the community, clarified where he's been, and laid the groundwork for what's to come. It doesn't mean development will be back up to full speed, but it does mean we're not in the dark. So, what's next? I think we're likely to see a few things. Firstly, a possible dev blog or gameplay teaser in the near future to show off the multiplayer. Second, I think there's going to be continued work on the closed tester builds, which you can get access to if you're part of the Patreon. And thirdly, hopefully, more consistent updates on development. So, Raf is back, development has resumed, and War of the Worlds still has a shot at becoming something really unique in the indie survival space. If you're still following this project, let me know down below. Are you hopeful? Are you cautious? Are you burned out? I'd love to hear what you think. If you want to stay up to date with all things War of the Worlds and sci-fi, then make sure you subscribe and stick around, there's more videos on the way. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.